This video will show you how to submit labs. Almost all the labs will be in person, but regardless of whether they're in person online, they will be turned in online via Google Classroom. Now, there's a few ways you can get to the actual lab worksheet online. First of all, when the time comes and the assignment is almost due, you will get an automatic email from Google Classroom that tells you this. And from that email, you can click the link and it'll bring you where you need to be. Beyond that, if you go up here, you can see there's three options at the top of the page here on Google Classroom. There's Stream, there's Classwork, and there's People. So you want to go to Classwork. Now you could scroll all the way down. It just so happens that it is where it needs to be right now because I've already looked at it. So let's pretend that didn't happen. All right. So again, we're here up at the top. We've chosen the Classwork section. Now you could scroll all the way down and find the lab, or if you look here on the left, it's sort of a table of contents, and you can see right here is the lab section. So if you click that, it'll jump you down towards the bottom of the page so you don't have to scroll down. And here we go, lab. Now you can see there's a lot of labs here. I'm going to try to find, obviously, the first one is the example. Let's see here. Here we go. Lab 1. Actually, you can see there's already there's an old video already posted here. By the time you see this, that old video will no longer be there. Anyway, so here's the lab. What you need to do is click on it like that. There we go. And then this up here at your top right, this is the document you're going to work with. Now you can see I accidentally, or excuse me, it was not an accident. I hit the submit button earlier just because I wanted to see what happened, because I'm doing this as a student as opposed to the professor to see what it looks like. Anyway, let me unsubmit it so you can see what it would look like on your end when you first look at it. There we go. All right. So this is what you'll see when you first come to the lab for the entire semester. And up here at the top right, this is the document that you're going to use. So you click on that. And the first thing you want to do before you get started is you need to share this document with me. So there we go. Up at the top right, you can see there's the share button. So hit the share button. Then it's going to ask you who to share with. And in this case, I'm already there. So that is the one you would choose. But, you know, if I'm not already there on your end, you'll actually type my name in like that, basilios.dianelos. And there it is. And you see there's quite a few options, but you want the longest one, basilios.dianelos at wvstateu.edu. You choose that. All right. And then before you hit the send button, you can see there's a drop-down menu right here where there's options. There's viewer, commenter, and editor. And I need to be able to edit it. I'll explain that later. If you have questions, let me know. But make sure you put me down as someone who can edit. Hit the send button. All right. Now you've shared the document with me. And now you can go on to do the lab. And the reason you want to do this is because I can go in there and leave comments and help you with your lab before it's even due. Which also brings me to the point that you should, if you're able, turn these in or at least start working on them as early as possible. Because as you're working on these labs, I have access to them because, again, I just showed you how to share it with me. So as you're working on them, as long as it's before the due date, I can guide you along. If you type in an answer that's incorrect, I can leave a comment, tell you why it's incorrect, maybe lead you towards the correct answer, and you'll be able to correct it because as long as it's before the due date, you can make any corrections you want. So I recommend getting them done early for that reason. Anyway, to actually do the lab, first thing you want to do in any lab is read the pre-lab. Actually, you're going to read the entire lab so you know what you're doing before you actually come into the laboratory and you know what you're getting into. You read this, and then you can see here, eventually you'll get to the section where it says Prelab Questions. And this is where you will answer the questions, and it's just simply filling out a form. I use this as an example. The first question, what are graphs used for? All the questions from the pre-lab section are going to come from the information on this worksheet. So you could Google this question, what are graphs used for? Or you might know the answer. and you might just write any old answer down. However, this also serves as proof that you have read this worksheet. So your answers must come from this worksheet. Therefore, even if you know what graphs are used for, or even if you Googled it and found a correct answer, what I need is the correct answer. And the correct answer, again, must come from this worksheet. So make sure when you're answering your pre-lab questions, they come from the pre-lab worksheet, or excuse me, the lab worksheet. For example, if this question said, what is 1 plus 1? And then somewhere in this document, it says 1 plus 1 equals 5, then you must answer 1 plus 1 equals 5 right here, right? Not because that's the correct answer, but again, this proves that you actually read the document. So in this case, what are graphs used for? You would just type it. Obviously, the answer is not they are pretty, and I wrote that down because I didn't want to give you the correct answer. You need to read the lab to find it. But yeah, that's all you do, right? You read it, you type it in. Same thing here. You just type in your answer, and that's what you're going to do for all the labs. You just type in the information, whatever it is. And again, you shared it with me, so I'll see when you are done. Let me scroll down here. Same thing here, even with charts where you're collecting data in the actual lab experiment itself. You're going to type it in here. I'm just going to put in some random numbers just to show you. Again, you're just typing, right? That's all you're doing. Just typing in, putting in some numbers. That's it. You do that. Once you're done, again, you've already shared it with me. However, once you think you are actually done, you can hit the submit button or turn in, right? You can see that there's a turn in button here. And again, that's what you'll do when you're ready for me to grade it. But again, doing this early is very beneficial. And even if you hit the turn in button, as long as it is before the due date, and as long as I give you the feedback before the due date, as long as you make any corrections before the due date, then it will be worth full credit. So if you make a mistake, you hit the turn in button, I read it, and I tell you, look, this answer is wrong, this is why it's wrong, and then you correct it before the due date, you'll still get full credit. So again, that is the benefit of turning it in early. Another thing I should point out, so you can see here that I'm working on this. Let me go back to one of these questions here. All right, let's say, again, I'm just typing anything in here. Let's say I write down that my height is 100 centimeters, right? I'm working on my document, but then it's time to go, right? I'm working on this at home. Now I've got to go to work. So I close out of this. Right, I'm going around, I'm doing my own thing. Now when I come back to this, go to classwork, go to lab. There we go, lab 1. I click on the top here. I reopen this document. And let's see, where was I? Right there. So you can see here, everything automatically saves. So if you're wondering why I have you turn these things in via Google Docs as opposed to any other manner, or even printing them and doing it that way, this is one of the reasons why. So as long as when you're working on this, you can leave as much as you want and come back to it, and it automatically saves. Because you'll notice I didn't hit any save button. It just automatically does that. So that's it. That's what you need to do. Again, when you're done, you can hit the submit button, the turn in button. You can do that here, or you can see back here, you can do it here, hit the turn in button. What you won't do, unless otherwise directed, is use this. Well, that's not there anymore. Excuse me. There is an option that says add or create, and you don't need to worry about that unless otherwise directed. So that's it. That's how you turn in your labs. This is how it's going to work throughout the semester. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, I've given you some explanation as to why we are using Google Classroom to turn it in as opposed to having a printed version. But that being said, I want to point out, like I mentioned right here, I can print this for you. So if for some reason you just don't want to work on the computer, let me know and I can print it. Which also brings me to my final point. When you actually physically come into the laboratory, to the room where you're doing the experiments, you need to either bring your computer so you can do this, so you can enter all that data and answer all those questions, or just bring some scrap paper so you can write the information down, and then later when you get in front of your computer, you can put the information into the computer. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.